The entertainment world was shaken when an unprecedented event unfolded on live television. Nicole Kidman, one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, was escorted out of Jimmy Kimmel Live after a tense confrontation. What began as a routine interview quickly escalated into a heated debate, not only about the private lives of artists but also about the abuse of power and the overlooked ethical standards in the entertainment industry. This event was not just a late-night talk show segment, it was a battle of ideologies, where Nicole Kidman fearlessly exposed the dark corners of modern entertainment. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. The studio lights blazed, and the crowd's cheers surged like a tidal wave as Jimmy Kimmel introduced his guest with his usual energy. Welcome to Jimmy Kimmel Live, and tonight we have a very special guest, a woman who has redefined the concept of a Hollywood star. Please give a big round of applause for Nicole Kidman. Kimmel's voice echoed, filling the space with amplified enthusiasm. She walked toward the interview desk where Jimmy Kimmel awaited. Jimmy, with his trademark grin, shook Nicole's hand politely. "Hi Nicole, so great to have you here," Jimmy said, his eyes scanning her sharply, as if weighing something deeper. "It's awesome to have you back, especially with a new movie that's very controversial." Nicole sat down, maintaining a calm and professional demeanor. She responded with a faint smile, revealing no hint of unease. "Thank you, Jimmy, it's great to be here. Yes, my new film does touch on some sensitive issues, and I believe it will spark a lot of discussions. So Nicole," Kimmel began slowly, his tone laced with sarcasm, as if he were about to share a private joke about her. "We can't not talk about a major chapter in your life, can we? Your love story with Tom Cruise. A lot of fans are still curious about that time, and what really happened behind closed doors. You know, those secrets are always more fascinating than any Oscar you've ever won." Suddenly, Nicole Kidman stiffened, her piercing blue eyes flashing with clear discomfort, yet she maintained an admirable composure. "Jimmy," Nicole said softly, her voice eerily calm, "I think we both know that's not the topic I'm here to discuss. We had a clear agreement about what would be covered on air." Kimmel smirked, a mocking smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Agreement? My audience comes here for the truth, not some sanitized PR script your talented team prepared. Got something to hide? A star of your caliber afraid of a simple question? Or is the answer more complicated than you want us to know?" "I'm not afraid of anything, Jimmy, and I have nothing to hide. My career and my personal life are separate domains. I'm here to talk about my film, about an artist's work, not to dig up old stories for your cheap entertainment." Her voice remained calm, but the sharpness in her words made Kimmel's lips twitch. Kimmel didn't flinch. In fact, he seemed more eager. He leaned forward, openly challenging her. "Oh, but isn't your privacy exactly what the audience is most curious about, Nicole? You're one of the biggest stars in the world, an icon. People want to know what really goes on behind the glamour. Are you saying the rumors about your relationship with Tom Cruise, that messy divorce, aren't worth talking about? Or are you just not keen on diving into that messy past?" The audience in the studio began to murmur, the noise growing louder. The tension was palpable, spreading through the room. Some seemed uneasy with the interview's direction, while others eagerly awaited Nicole Kidman's response to this direct attack. Nicole took a deep breath. She locked eyes with Jimmy Kimmel, showing no trace of fear or hesitation. Her voice grew lower, but her words rang out like a bell. "Jimmy, we had a clear, transparent agreement before I came here. Your deliberate violation of that agreement is not only unprofessional, but shows blatant disrespect for your guest. I'm not a spectacle, Jimmy. I'm an artist here to share my work, and I'm not someone you can mock to boost your show's ratings." Kimmel smirked again, his eyes scanning the audience as if seeking their approval. "Oh, unprofessional, disrespectful. Are you telling me how to do my job, Nicole? I've been doing this for decades. I know what my audience wants. They want authenticity. They want to see a crack in Hollywood's polished veneer, not an actor reciting pre-written lines. Do you think your agreement is hiding something the audience deserves to know?" Nicole gave a faint smile, one filled with understanding and disdain. "You're confusing authenticity with rudeness, Jimmy, and you're confusing information with prying into personal lives. Your audience has a right to entertainment, but they don't have a right to invade my privacy. Your deliberate push to make this conversation personal and offensive isn't authentic. It's an old tactic to create drama. You're not a bold host. You're just unethical." Nicole's words were powerful, resolute and dignified. It wasn't a plea but a clear statement of her values and professionalism. Jimmy Kimmel tried to keep his smile but his lips twitched. He glared at Nicole, his eyes sparking with anger. Both knew the confrontation was no longer subtle. The commercial break music blared suddenly. The cameras cut to black, but the tension in the air remained as sharp as a blade. The calm on air was shattered, and now the real battle would begin backstage. Sarah, Nicole Kidman's longtime manager, and Mark, her agent, stormed toward the control area. They confronted the show's senior producers, who were huddled together with anxious faces. "What the hell are you doing?" Sarah snapped, her face flushed with anger. "This is a blatant violation of the agreement. Jimmy is deliberately sabotaging Nicole's image on live TV. Are you going to let this continue?" David, one of the lead producers, tried to stay calm. "Calm down, Sarah. We're sorry. Maybe things got a bit out of hand." "Out of hand?" Mark cut in, his voice dripping with contempt. "He's publicly attacking and insulting her on live television. This is a media crisis in the making. He needs to be stopped immediately." While Nicole's team argued fiercely with the producers, Jimmy Kimmel stood in a secluded corner. Ignoring the chaos, he signaled to his writers to draft more provocative questions, not hiding his anger or intent to corner Nicole. "Don't go easy on her," Kimmel growled, pointing toward Nicole, who sat quietly alone in her chair. "Who does she think she is, acting all high and mighty on my show? I want her to know her place." Kimmel slammed his hand on the table. "To hell with the agreement. This is my show. I make the rules here. My ratings need a boost from some quality drama." He stared at Nicole on the monitor, a malicious grin flickering across his face. Nicole Kidman, meanwhile, remained chillingly calm. She silently observed the chaos, her sharp eyes scanning Kimmel and his whispering team. She'd seen enough of the industry's dirty tricks to recognize the hostility Kimmel was displaying. She steeled herself for an inevitable confrontation, determined not to be exploited further. Her eyes met Sarah's, and she gave a slight shake of her head, as if to say, "Don't waste your breath." As the signal light indicated the show was about to resume, Kimmel returned to his spot, his face betraying unmasked anger. He no longer bothered with his usual friendly facade. The entire studio felt the tension peaking, like a guitar string stretched to its breaking point. "All right, welcome back to Jimmy Kimmel Live," Kimmel said, his voice low and growling, a stark contrast to his usual cheerful demeanor. He stared directly at Nicole Kidman, his eyes full of defiance, another sarcastic smile creeping onto his lips. "Before we move on, I want to say something. I understand things might have gotten a bit heated last week. I'm sorry if anyone, especially you, Nicole, felt uncomfortable. Sometimes I just get too excited about bringing real entertainment to my audience. I guess not everyone's used to a straightforward conversation like that." Kimmel's apology dripped with smugness. Nicole didn't waver. She looked straight at Jimmy Kimmel, fearless and unshaken. Her voice was lower, her words echoing through the studio. "Jimmy, sorry isn't a tool to justify disrespectful behavior. When you say I'm sorry if you felt uncomfortable, that's not a sincere apology. That's you blaming others' feelings, a cowardly way to dodge responsibility. I'm not uncomfortable because of straightforward questions. I'm uncomfortable with your unprofessionalism, your arrogance, and your deliberate violation of established agreements. You call that authentic. I call it rude and unethical." Kimmel laughed scornfully. "Oh, I see. Our noble Nicole Kidman wants to talk about art and vision, but doesn't want to touch the truth of her own life. How interesting. Do you think you can come here, act superior and control everything like it's your movie set?" His voice grew shrill, laced with mockery and anger. "This isn't your Hollywood, lady. This is live TV, where people want to see the real person, not a perfectly polished, boring image." Nicole held his gaze, her eyes unwavering. "My real self isn't here for you to dissect or mock on national television, Jimmy. I'm not obligated to satisfy your idle curiosity by sacrificing my privacy and dignity. You're crossing a line, and the truth you're talking about is just an excuse for personal attacks." "Line?" Kimmel snarled, his face flushing red, his smile gone, replaced by raw anger. "I set the line here. You think you can tell me what to do on my show? Who do you think you are, lecturing a host with decades of experience?" He angrily pointed at Nicole's face. "You're here as a guest, not the host. And with that attitude, I don't think you're a welcome guest anymore. Dignity, you're making a mockery of yourself in front of the audience." Nicole gave a faint, icy smile. She stood up from her chair, a decisive and defiant act. "I didn't come here to be abused, Jimmy, and I'm not afraid to leave. I have my values, and I don't need you or anyone else to define them." Kimmel slammed his hand on the desk, the sound echoing sharply. "Your values? Your values are turning my show into a disaster. You think you're the only one with power here? I've been doing this longer than you've been acting? Do you have any idea of the consequences of this? You think you can come here, ruin my show, and walk away like nothing happened? He stood up, facing Nicole, pointing directly at her. This is my show, and I won't let anyone, not even an icon like you, destroy it. Nicole held her unwavering gaze. I'm not ruining your show, Jimmy. You're ruining it with your disrespect and oversized ego. I have nothing to lose by speaking the truth. What about you? That statement was the final spark for Kimmel's rage. He let out a furious roar, his face contorted with uncontrollable anger. Cut to commercial. Jimmy Kimmel's cry of "cut to commercial" rang out like a thunderclap in the tense atmosphere. His face was flushed, distorted with rage beyond control. He was no longer the host hiding his sarcasm behind a playful smile. At this moment, Kimmel was a man consumed by wounded pride and fury. Security, escort Ms. Kidman out of the studio immediately. Jimmy Kimmel roared, his voice hoarse, pointing directly at Nicole, who stood tall, eerily calm. The order shocked not only Nicole but also the entire studio audience and production crew. Never before had an A-list star been treated so aggressively on national television. Jimmy took a step toward Nicole, growling, "You're making a mockery of your career, Nicole. You're destroying everything you've built. You'll regret this. No one dares to do this on my show." He tried to intimidate her, hoping she'd falter, but Nicole Kidman didn't falter. She held her stance, her eyes devoid of fear, instead radiating deep disappointment. She looked at Kimmel as if seeing a pitiful man flailing in his own anger. She gave a faint, almost sorrowful smile. "So this is the extent of truth and respect on your show, Jimmy," Nicole said softly, her voice still calm, but each word carried the weight of a verdict. "When a guest dares to speak their mind, dares to uphold their dignity, you use your power to silence them, to escort them out. How disappointing. You're not just embarrassing yourself, you're embarrassing an entire industry I've dedicated my life to." She stood tall, proud. "This isn't entertainment, Jimmy. This is bullying. And I'm not someone who will be bullied." Immediately, two large security guards, visibly hesitant, approached Nicole Kidman at Jimmy's command. They clearly didn't want to follow through, their faces showing reluctance and discomfort. They looked at Nicole with apologetic eyes, as if silently asking for forgiveness. Nicole looked at them reassuringly, giving a slight shake of her head. "No need," she said gently, a small smile on her lips, as if freeing them from an awkward situation. "I can walk myself out." She turned to face the hundreds of stunned audience members, frozen in shock at what had just transpired. Her face remained calm and dignified, even managing a faint, empathetic smile. "I'm sorry you all had to witness this. Not exactly what any of us expected tonight." In that moment, like a dam breaking, the audience's suppressed outrage erupted. As Nicole walked away, her steps slow and resolute, hundreds stood from their seats. Thunderous applause roared for Nicole Kidman. Boos and shouts of "Shame on you, Jimmy. You went too far. She deserves better," were aimed directly at Jimmy Kimmel. Many, in absolute support of Nicole, turned their backs on the stage and walked out, openly showing their contempt for Kimmel's actions. The exit doors swung open and shut repeatedly, the sound of hurried footsteps echoing through the studio. Jimmy Kimmel stood alone on the stage, his face red and eyes glaring. He tried to regain control, a forced smile reappearing. "Well, that was interesting. Some people just can't handle a little teasing, huh?" He tried to speak louder to drown out the boos and the sound of people leaving. "That's how we do things here. Sometimes you need a little spice." But his words fell flat. The audience continued to leave, ignoring his attempts to downplay the situation. The band members exchanged awkward glances, unsure whether to play music or do anything at all. The production team backstage was in a frenzy, trying to handle an unprecedented crisis. The cameras kept rolling. Jimmy Kimmel stood alone on the stage, facing increasingly empty seats, his face pale with shock and anger. He said nothing more, staring into the void, as if unable to believe what had just happened. The audience's boos, the sound of hurried footsteps leaving, and the crew's chaos drowned out all else. The show had completely collapsed. Suddenly the screen cut to a commercial again, but this time it wasn't scheduled. It was a desperate move from the control room to stop the disaster from worsening, but it was too late. The image of Kimmel standing stunned on an empty stage was captured, and within minutes it would flood social media. This wasn't just an explosive moment on live TV, it was an exposé, a mirror reflecting Jimmy Kimmel's authoritarian nature that backstage staff had endured for years. By standing up and refusing to be bullied, Nicole Kidman not only defended herself but became a voice for everyone who had been disrespected in the entertainment industry. The media storm was only a matter of time. Within minutes, uncensored video clips capturing the entire tense confrontation, and Nicole Kidman's resolute exit, along with Jimmy Kimmel standing stunned on an empty stage, flooded every social media platform. TikTok, Instagram and Facebook became virtual battlegrounds where millions of viewers expressed their outrage and support. The hashtag #ShameOnJimmy quickly became a global trend, dominating the #1 spot. Users' timelines were filled with scathing criticism of Jimmy Kimmel's behavior. Absolutely shameful, one influential account wrote, that a host could abuse their power to that extent. Nicole Kidman is a legend, and deserves respect. Another user commented, "This isn't entertainment, this is public bullying. It's time Jimmy Kimmel is held accountable." The outrage wasn't limited to the fan community. Numerous celebrities and industry influencers began speaking out. Actors, directors, and Nicole Kidman's former colleagues expressed strong support for her, while condemning Kimmel's actions. A veteran actress tweeted, "It's horrifying to see a woman attacked like that on live TV." Nicole handled it with a dignity Jimmy Kimmel could never match. Quick interviews with celebrities at red carpet events also shifted to discussing the incident, with most expressing disappointment and calling for a more professional work environment in the industry. However, what truly ignited the public outcry were accusations from within Jimmy Kimmel Live itself. Initially, anonymous comments surfaced on online forums, but they quickly escalated into detailed evidenced accounts of a toxic work environment on Kimmel's show. Former and current staff began speaking out, revealing instances of bullying, verbal abuse, and Kimmel's domineering attitude backstage. "He's a real tyrant," a former crew member shared in a viral anonymous Reddit post, later quoted by major media outlets. "The person you see on screen is a controlled version. When the cameras are off, he's a nightmare. He berates and yells at staff over the smallest mistakes, blaming others when things don't go his way. It's good someone finally called him out." A current production assistant, anonymous for fear of retaliation, emailed a major entertainment news outlet, "We live in fear every day. No one dares speak up because they're afraid of being fired or blacklisted. Jimmy can turn a normal workday into hell just because he's in a bad mood." The incident with Nicole Kidman is just the tip of the iceberg. These stories painted a grim picture of a workplace dominated by fear and power abuse. Under immense public pressure and internal allegations, the network scrambled to implement damage control. A vague statement was released, claiming they were thoroughly reviewing the incident and committed to maintaining a respectful workplace. However, the statement was seen as too weak and inadequate, further fueling public anger. Advertisers, always sensitive to public sentiment, began expressing serious concerns. Several major brands pulled their scheduled ads from Kimmel's show, creating direct financial pressure on the network. This demonstrated that the consequences extended beyond personal reputation to directly impact the show's revenue. Meanwhile, Nicole Kidman and her team maintained a dignified silence. Not a single comment was issued. This silence only amplified the weight of the incident, highlighting Nicole's professionalism and dignity in stark contrast to Kimmel's chaos and loss of control. She didn't need to speak. The events on air and the public's outrage spoke for her. Notably, Jimmy Kimmel was absent from the air for the rest of the week. The official reason given was an unscheduled break, but no one in the entertainment industry believed it. Insider sources from the network quickly confirmed it was a mandatory cooling-off period imposed by channel executives to manage the situation and avoid escalating the criticism. During those days of absence, Jimmy Kimmel was reportedly in a state of intense anger and complete denial of responsibility. He continuously blamed Nicole Kidman for overreacting, the production team for failing to control the situation, and even the network for not protecting him from public backlash. Kimmel couldn't accept that his actions had triggered a serious crisis. His arrogance prevented him from acknowledging his mistakes. While Kimmel raged, crisis meetings unfolded at the network's headquarters. Senior executives, including heads of communications and legal departments, worked tirelessly to salvage Jimmy Kimmel's reputation, and more critically, the network's financial pressure mounted as major advertisers repeatedly called, expressing concerns and threatening to pull contracts. Millions of dollars in ad revenue were at stake due to one moment of lost control on air. After days of deliberation, the network and Kimmel's team decided he had to return and issue a public apology. It was a calculated strategy to appease the public and regain favor with viewers and advertisers. On the night of Kimmel's return, public attention was fixated on the show. He opened by sitting at the interview desk, his face unusually somber, a departure from his typical comedic demeanor. He cleared his throat, preparing for a carefully scripted statement. "I want to talk about what happened last week with Nicole Kidman," Kimmel began, his voice slightly stiff, lacking sincerity. "I've reviewed the footage. Clearly things got heated, and I reacted poorly. For that I apologize to Nicole and our audience for any discomfort that incident may have caused. Up to this point the apology seemed reasonable, but Kimmel didn't stop there. He continued, attempting to downplay the incident and subtly blaming Nicole for being overly sensitive. "I've always wanted my show to be fun, sometimes a bit bold," he said, forcing a strained smile. "Sometimes in our enthusiasm we can cross a line. Maybe I didn't realize that some jokes might be received differently by different people. And I guess I didn't anticipate that Miss Kidman would be so sensitive to those probing questions. I just wanted to bring an authentic and entertaining conversation to you all." This carefully scripted apology not only failed but backfired disastrously. The audience and social media immediately recognized the hollowness and insincerity in Kimmel's words. He wasn't truly apologizing for his disrespectful behavior. He was apologizing for the discomfort it caused, while subtly blaming Nicole for not playing along. Negative reactions exploded. Social media comments were flooded with criticism of his lack of sincerity. "That's not an apology," one Twitter user wrote sharply. "It's a pathetic justification and a blatant attempt to victim blame. Disgusting." Other celebrities who had followed the incident also publicly expressed disappointment with Kimmel's apology. Nicole Kidman remained completely silent. No statement from her or her representatives addressed Kimmel's apology. This silence further highlighted Kimmel's insincerity while reinforcing Nicole's resilient and dignified image. Clearly Kimmel's apology strategy failed miserably, not only failing to salvage the situation but exacerbating his reputational crisis. The fallout didn't stop at a fake apology or a few days off air. For Jimmy Kimmel this was a deep scar, a potential end to his reign in late-night television. Immediately Jimmy Kimmel Live's ratings plummeted dramatically. Public data showed viewership dropping to alarming levels, far beyond any prior seasonal declines. Weekly rankings consistently recorded the show's freefall. Thousands, even millions of previously loyal viewers publicly declared they were boycotting the show, expressing support for Nicole Kidman and disgust with Kimmel's behavior. "I'll never watch that show again," a longtime viewer shared on social media. "It's disgusting to see him treat a woman like that." Not only did viewers turn away, but industry stars began avoiding Kimmel. Many A-list names who previously happily accepted interview invitations canceled scheduled appearances. Film promoters and artist representatives swiftly pulled their clients from potential guest lists, unwilling to risk their stars facing similar treatment as Nicole Kidman. This unofficial blacklisting dealt a severe blow to Kimmel's show, which relied on high-profile guests to survive. The incident with Nicole Kidman also opened the door to broader exposure of the toxic work environment at Jimmy Kimmel Live. Anonymous accusations were no longer whispers. They became detailed reports published by major newspapers and reputable news outlets. Former and current staff, emboldened by Nicole's courage, provided specific accounts of the toxic work culture under Kimmel's leadership. "It's like a dam broke," a former show producer revealed in an interview. "People are realizing no one should have to endure abuse just to do their job." They recounted how Kimmel frequently berated staff in front of colleagues for minor errors, mocked new ideas, and fostered an atmosphere of fear where everyone dreaded criticism. Complaints about harassment and an unfriendly work environment surged at the network's HR department, leading to a formal internal investigation, adding further pressure on Kimmel and the show's management. A young script assistant shared how Kimmel once tore up her script in front of the entire room and threw it in the trash, accompanied by insults about her abilities. "I went home and cried all night," she said, "but I didn't dare say anything for fear of being fired. Everyone knew Jimmy was the boss, until now." Similar stories from lighting crew, sound technicians, and office staff painted a bleak picture of a workplace where creativity was stifled by authoritarianism and disrespect. Jimmy Kimmel began to feel more isolated than ever. His reputation was severely damaged, not only in the public's eyes but within the entertainment industry itself. He became a textbook example of power abuse, a cautionary tale for others. Network executives, witnessing the uncontrollable ratings drop and fierce backlash, began seriously discussing finding a replacement host. The financial and reputational pressure was too great to ignore. The future of Jimmy Kimmel Live became more precarious than ever, and Kimmel's position on the hot seat was ready to be replaced at any moment. Amid the chaos and accusations surrounding Jimmy Kimmel, Nicole Kidman didn't fade. She shone brighter than ever. The incident didn't diminish her reputation, but solidified her status as an icon of integrity, resilience, and self-respect. She became the embodiment of courage, someone who dared to stand against bullying and power abuse, even when facing one of television's most powerful figures. Weeks after the incident, Nicole Kidman appeared on a rival talk show known for its respectful and insightful interview style. The live broadcast drew a massive audience, eager to see her response. The studio atmosphere was the complete opposite of her previous experience. The host, a respected industry figure, asked professional questions focused entirely on Nicole's new project and illustrious film career. There were no provocative or invasive questions. When asked about the recent explosive incident, Nicole gave a slight smile. "Sometimes things don't go as planned," she said calmly, her voice warm and thoughtful. "But I believe when you invite someone into your space, there needs to be a certain level of respect. When boundaries are set, they must be honored. That applies not just to hosts and guests, but to everyone in any workplace." She didn't name Jimmy Kimmel, but her message was clear and powerful, earning thunderous applause from the audience. The interview received widespread praise from the public and critics. It not only effectively promoted Nicole's film, but reinforced her image as an ethical and professional star. Many industry experts noted that Nicole's stature and solid reputation gave her the courage to act as she did. "Not everyone could do what Nicole did," a TV critic remarked. "Many lesser-known actors would have to play along to avoid upsetting a host. What Nicole did was a reminder that we need mutual respect, and it's a costly lesson for the entire industry." For Jimmy Kimmel, the legacy of this incident was a stain that wouldn't wash away. His reputation suffered damage that many in the industry considered irreparable. He became a cautionary tale about power abuse, a vivid example of how quickly a host could lose public support by crossing ethical lines. Though he continued his work, his show never regained its former glory, and the number of A-list guests dwindled significantly. The incident sparked a broader, necessary conversation about ethics in late-night talk shows, the need for guest respect, and the balance of power between hosts and stars. Many other shows began reviewing their formats, emphasizing respect and avoiding overly personal or provocative questions. This was a significant step toward a healthier work environment for everyone in entertainment. The role of social media was also starkly highlighted. The internet's power and rapid information spread helped expose the truth and exert immense pressure on powerful figures. It showed that in the digital age, the public has a stronger voice than ever in shaping opinion and demanding fairness. The full extent of Jimmy Kimmel's professional consequences is still unfolding. However, one thing is certain, that tense confrontation forever changed the entertainment landscape. The moment one of Hollywood's most respected actresses refused to be bullied, even by one of television's most powerful figures, became a pivotal lesson. It underscored the importance of speaking out, defending one's dignity, and the inevitable consequences of disrespectful behavior. This story will be remembered as a milestone in television history, a reminder of the power of integrity and resilience. The story of Jimmy Kimmel and Nicole Kidman is a sharp snapshot reflecting many societal issues in the U.S. today. It's not just entertainment drama, but a lesson about power abuse, the importance of personal boundaries, and the strength of collective voices. Jimmy Kimmel, as a host, clearly demonstrated power abuse by attacking Nicole's personal life and attempting to mock her. This behavior, though on air, was a microcosm of authoritarian bosses or influential individuals using their position to bully others. The essential lesson here is, power comes with responsibility. Any act of using power to demean, control, or harm others is unacceptable and must be condemned. Nicole Kidman, with her calm and resolute stance, taught us the importance of setting and defending personal boundaries. She firmly reminded Kimmel of their agreement, asserting her right to respect and refusing to be his cheap entertainment tool. In a society that values freedom like the U.S., saying no when boundaries are crossed is crucial to preserving one's dignity, whether in work or personal relationships. Her decisive act of standing up and leaving the stage was the clearest proof. Finally, this story underscores the power of public opinion and collective voices. The immediate reaction from the studio audience, coupled with the "Shame on Jimmy" hashtag and internal staff accusations, created immense pressure that forced Kimmel to be held accountable. This affirms that in a democratic society, the united voice of individuals can drive significant change, demand fairness, and reform harmful norms. It's a reminder that we all have a role in shaping a more respectful living and working environment. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated on the next exposés. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video, where we'll uncover another Hollywood secret.